Hey everyone, over the last several months I've gotten a lot of emails and messages from fans of the show asking me what they need to do to get into the wrestling business. First of all, thanks to everyone who's written to me. I'm very flattered that you would ask me of all people for advice on how to get in the business. I've never claimed to be a real big expert on professional wrestling, but I think I've been in the indies long enough to have a very basic idea at the very least on how to get started. So in the hopes of answering your wrestling FAQs, here's my somewhat snarky but 100% serious list of things you need to do if you want to consider being a professional wrestler. First of all, and this is the most important, get trained. I've said this before on my show, I cannot stress it enough. If you want to be taken seriously as a worker, if you want to get booked by credible organizations, you have to be trained by a legitimate school with legitimate teachers. How do you find such a school? Well, a quick Google search is a great place to start. I recommend looking up any nearby schools in your area. There are some schools that operate on their own independently from any other kind of promotions, and then there are a lot of indie promotions out there who have started wrestling schools as an additional revenue stream and as a way to develop their future stars. To find a good school, there are two main things to consider: the quality of the teacher and the quality of the graduates. A good teacher doesn't need to have worked for places like WWE or WCW or TNA, but they should have a lot of experience under their belt, and they should be able to teach you the fundamentals of wrestling, of selling, and of psychology. If you want to know whether or not the teacher's any good, look up his work online. And now don't look for anything like, oh, is his gimmick really cool? How many cool moves does he have? Or how many titles does he win? That doesn't matter. Look at how he tells a story in the ring. Can he work a crowd? Does he have good body language? Is he in control of his body? These are the things you need to consider when looking for a good teacher. How have past graduates done for themselves after getting trained? That's another big thing you gotta look into about these schools. If their site or their Facebook page doesn't have a list of alumni, contact the school yourself and ask who's been through there. And then, once you have that list, look up their work online. There's a lot of homework involved here, but believe me, it's worth it. Once you've seen their stuff, if these guys look good, and if they're working for reputable companies on a regular basis, chances are you have found a good school. You will be training for a very long time, getting the fundamentals pounded into your head for months, possibly even for more than a year before your trainer thinks you're ready to work in front of a crowd. If a school tells you that they can get you booked on a show in 6 weeks, run. Your training will cost thousands of dollars, either up front or spread out over time depending on your school's policy and what you worked out with them. It might seem like a lot of money, but if the school is of a good quality, it is almost always worth the investment. So now you know what to do if you want to become a wrestler, but what if that's not the road you want to take? What if you'd rather be a referee or a manager? Now, me personally, I started out as a wrestler, did that for about a year, sucked, and then transitioned into a manager role that better showcased my strengths. But if you want to skip that whole looking foolish in the ring phase, there are different ways to go about it. Lots of schools these days are offering specific courses that teach them how to be referees and managers. There's some focus on cardio and taking bumps, but for the most part, these people are learning things about psychology, their roles in a match, paying dues, that sort of thing. We'll get back to paying dues in a minute. If no such courses are being offered at the school you find, chances are you might have to just train to be a wrestler for a while and let the cards fall where they may. In my opinion, I think managers should have a wrestling background to begin with. Let's go back to the part about paying dues. Young wrestlers, referees, managers, what have you, all have to pay their dues. Even veterans have to pay their dues as well. What does paying your dues mean? Well, aside from the training, it means things like doing ring crew, security, setup and teardown, cleanup, putting up the flyers, helping carry the veterans' bags. Oh, and it also means not getting paid. Here's the fun part. When you get into wrestling, expect to make no money for a while. I don't mean piddly little payouts like $20 or so. I mean $0. Yes, it sucks and I hate it, and I'm actually going to be talking about it in depth in a future episode down the line, but all you need to know is there is no money in professional wrestling at the independent level. Even a lot of the veterans are getting paid far below their value. Like everything you want to accomplish in life, it all comes down to patience and discipline. If you're good enough at what you do and you do it for long enough, you'll start getting the payouts you deserve. Not enough to quit your day job, but it will be something. And those are the basic things you need to know to start your journey in professional wrestling. But wait, you might be asking, what if I live in a part of the country that doesn't have any real live wrestling? It's true, there are some regions in America and all over the world really where there isn't much of a wrestling scene. To give you an example, the biggest wrestling personality to come out of Idaho is Tori Wilson. If there are no credible wrestling feds or schools in your state, you might have to go outside that area. Check the border states to see what they have. That would involve a lot of traveling to and from the training, or you might have to consider moving to that part of the country. I know that is a huge step to take for wrestling training. It's an extreme choice in many cases, but I've seen it done. I've seen people do this before. And if it's something you really want, if this is really your dream and you want to accomplish it, sacrifices need to be made. And really, if you're young enough and you're not tied down and like moving to a different town is the biggest sacrifice you need to make, I say go for it. If being a wrestler, a referee, or a manager isn't in the cards for you, but you still want to be involved in the business somehow, volunteer in other ways. I recommend you try offering to help with the ring crew, with concessions, with the sound, with flyering, that sort of thing. If you know your way around Photoshop, offer to make flyers. If you're good with video editing, offer to help them with their TV product. And this is no guarantee it's going to happen to you, but I know people who have parlayed that kind of experience into a role in the show. You just have to put yourself out there. I hope this video answers a lot of the questions you have about getting into the wrestling business. There's a lot of stuff I didn't cover here, so if there's any questions you have that I didn't address, post them in the comments section below and I'll do my best to respond. I'm here to help. Be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirt. I'm Zane, and I'll see you next time.